Well, guys, I'm back after a fairly lengthy hiatus that was unintended. I wish I could tell you guys that my reasons for not making videos for 2 weeks had to do with personal issues, or work got in the way, or I was busy with other things, life got in the way, whatever. I wish I could tell you there was like a substantial reason for why I haven't made videos in 2 weeks. But quite honestly, the one and only reason is that I have been completely unmotivated to make videos because the WWE is so boring that I just can't muster the energy to make videos. I'm at a point right now where I'm just sitting here like, oh my god, I like Raw and Smackdown. It's Raw and Smackdown specifically that are the problem. NXT's not the problem. 205 Live is watchable most of the time. At least it's an hour long, so I don't feel like it's that much of my life being taken away from me. But Raw and Smackdown are so lifeless and so boring that I just the last couple weeks I've just been like, why the fuck am I watching this? What? It's like that old Statler and Waldorf bit. Like, how do they do it? How do I watch it? Why do I watch it? Why do you watch it? These are the questions. I don't know anymore. I'm struggling to find reasons to continuously tune in to Raw and SmackDown. And it's not that the show is stupendously bad or anything. It's just so lifeless and so boring and so monotonous that I mean, AJ Styles can only do so much to make me want to watch a wrestling show. I mean, again, TNA 2010, I can't muster the energy to talk about these shows, because what is there to talk about? It's the same boring shit every single week. At this point, I'm just biding my time until, the Best of the Super Juniors tournament is underway with New Japan. I've tried to watch a little bit of it. I haven't watched as much as I would like, so I'm going to try and make some time to really catch up on it. And, I'm biding my time for Dominion. I'm biding my time until Lucha Underground comes back next week, next Wednesday, thank God. I was biding my time until the next TakeOver special. There's just not a whole lot to really talk about right now. It's just, I'm bored, and WWE is it's so, oh my god, okay. Last week's Impact Wrestling was, I got more out of that than I did. I have Raw and SmackDown in the last, 2 or 3 weeks. And it's not even that Impact Wrestling is that great, but it's like, oh, an Ultimate X main event. Okay, at least they'll let the Tag Division main event 1 week, and they'll let the X Division main event 1 week, so I'm not just getting the same recycled crap over and over again. It's just, I'm bored. I'm bored, and I don't care. Fucking hell, this show is just draining the life out of me. Help! It's just... oh my god, it is so terrible. And, the last couple weeks with Raw and SmackDown, I kind of just, half pay attention to it, and I'll go off and do other things. I'll cook dinner, I'll put on Netflix and watch something else if I get too bored. I'll watch, kaiju movies in preparation for the kaiju movie reviews that I plan on doing later this year. Hopefully I can get those, start knocking those out by the end of the year, but I think I bit off a little bit more than I could chew with. I think I said the list of movies I ended up picking for that movie review series ended up being about close to 50. So that's a lot of reviews to knock out, but I'll do my best and try to knock them out. But there's just not a whole lot going on right now in the WWE. And the WWE's best stuff is, like I said, it's in NXT. It's not even on their main show. That said, we did have 2 shows this weekend. We had the latest NXT TakeOver special from Chicago, and we had Backlash 2017, the latest SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view. So I guess I can talk about those, right? TakeOver Chicago. My problem with the show, before it even started, my problem was I felt like the show was coming too soon after the last TakeOver special, which they did WrestleMania weekend, which wasn't that long ago. So this show felt like it didn't have a whole lot of build-up going into it. I think that really impacted the NXT title match. I think it impacted a lot of things, quite honestly. But overall, I thought the show was good. I thought it was an entertaining show. There was one truly excellent match on it, and I thought the main event ended really, really strongly. And the ending to the show was actually very well done. So overall, I thought it was a pretty solid show. Nothing terrible on it. overall, they did the best they could with the little build-up that they had. And overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. So, yeah, let's talk about it. Roderick Strong versus Erick Young was the opening match. Those of you who know me know that I'm not the biggest Roderick Strong fan. I've never been. However, I think the videos that they've been doing on NXT lately, Roddy doesn't have the flashiest personality, and he doesn't have the best look, and he's not the greatest worker in the world. Roderick Strong is one of those guys that to me, it's like, that's like the indie guy. That is the indie template of like the guys that, the WWE stars like make fun of and stuff. It's like, he is so bland and so boring. But those videos is like, okay, not the flashiest personality, doesn't have the greatest look. So fuck it, let's humanize him. And I think that helped. I think that helps me personally to invest in Roderick Strong a little bit more by going into his backstory and going into his life story and explaining where he came from and what his goals and motivations are. I think that makes Roderick Strong a lot more interesting than trying to make him into a main event star when he clearly doesn't fit the mold in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, I really like those videos. I thought the match with Erick Young was solid. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Roderick Strong's matches typically, but the little added investment helped, and overall I thought it was a solid match. Not a whole lot else to really say other than that. It was the opener, so they did fine for that. Next up was Tyler Bate defending the UK Championship against Pete Dunne, a championship that unfortunately kind of like faded away after the tournament started. It was almost like they didn't have a plan for it right away. Tyler's had a couple of title matches since then, but all of them on NXT and not in like any kind of not with any kind of consistency to where it's like, am I supposed to care about the UK title? Is it like, I don't know. I made the comment with a friend of mine. It almost feels like one of those random championships that the WWF had back in the 80s, like the ladies tag titles or the they had like a junior heavyweight title in the 80s or something. I forget what it was called exactly, but they had like these random championships that were defended like once in a blue moon. It's like, oh hey, we got this thing to throw out there now. And the UK title has kind of felt like that ever since it started, but the UK show is going to start up, and hopefully it'll gain a little bit more traction after that. But Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, I gotta say, they really tore it down and stole the show. That was an excellent match and kind of picked up where they left off in the finals of the UK title tournament, where I thought they had an excellent match there too. One could say that this match was kind of a spot festy, finisher festy type of thing, but it got to a point where I legitimately didn't know where the finish was going to come, so it was legitimately interesting. And I got a sense of who the heel was and who the face was. I mean, Pete Dunne was clearly the heel and Tyler was clearly the face, so I had somebody to root for in Tyler, and overall I thought it was just an excellent, exciting, action-packed match, and best match on the show. Like I said, they totally kind of stole the show here. So great job. Excellent match. Really liked it. Sleeper hit for sure, because this was a match that didn't really have a whole lot of build-up going into it. It was kind of just a rematch from the tournament earlier this year. But under those circumstances, I thought they did a great job. So more power to Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, which Tyler Bate's name, I gotta say, I'm shocked that some of the more snarky fans have not started chanting masturbate at him. They may want to consider changing that name because somebody's going to do it at some point, but whatever. So, after that, I believe it was the women's three-way, Asuka defending against Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross. It was supposed to include Ember Moon, but she got injured when they did that Battle Royal where Asuka broke up the ending of the Battle Royal and ruined it so she wouldn't have to face anybody, which, as I said many moons ago when I did my worst tropes in wrestling video, it's like, yeah, the heel breaking up a contenders match always ends up in a multi contender match. So it's like the worst evil plan ever because it never works. And sure enough, we got the same thing here. I think Ember Moon's injury was actually fortuitous in a weird way. I think rushing Ember Moon and Asuka so soon after their takeover match at Mania weekend would have felt a little rushed. I think they can get some mileage out of a build-up to that. And now we have this added layer of Asuka injuring Ember Moon and costing her another shot at the title. So when they do a rematch, say at the next TakeOver special in August, which thank God the next one's like 3 months off, it'll have a lot more weight to it, I think. And I'm looking ahead to what the August TakeOver special is going to look like. I think it could be a really, really damn good one, particularly given how the show ended, which I'll get into that. But, I thought this women's match was okay. It was a little clunky in spots. Ruby Riott was clearly the babyface of the match, but she needs a little bit more polishing. I know this is developmental territory, so she needs a little bit more development. She wasn't entirely crisp throughout most of the match. And there were some parts where the match, like I said, it got a little clunky, but it was okay overall. I think Nikki Cross is great, by the way. She plays her character to the hilt. Kind of reminds me of like a female Bray Wyatt, which only gives me the fear that they're going to ruin her when she gets to the main roster. But I think she's a really, really good like character performer in wrestling. She convincingly plays a psychopath, and I think she's great. So, yeah, Asuka retained to the surprise of nobody. It's going to be Asuka and Ember Moon 2 in August, I think, which I think it could be very good. And I think Ember Moon's injury, although you don't like to see anybody get hurt, I'm not saying it's good that she got hurt, but I think kind of like Seth Rollins' injury at the hands of Samoa Joe, kind of improving the build-up to WrestleMania. It added that little extra layer of drama where, oh, is Seth going to make it to WrestleMania? And it prevented the build-up from getting stale and repetitive. And I think that could kind of serve the same function here. It's like, yeah, it sucks that she got hurt, but I think you can make the build-up better because of it. And hopefully, you know, everything's okay with her. And when it does come time to do that match, it'll be even hotter and even more anticipated. So, yeah, women's match, it was all right. Not really a whole lot to say. Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami for the NXT title was not the main event. They gave the main event to the ladder match, which I really like that decision. Give it to the gimmick match, and makes the gimmick feel a little bit more special. And the ending that they went with for the main event was so well done that they ultimately made the right choice there. But to talk about Bobby Roode and Hideo Itami, I thought the match was solid. The match was what I said it was, which is it was a title match with a rushed build-up that they threw out there because they felt like they had an obligation to have an NXT title match. And it was solid under those parameters, but it wasn't like a match of the year or anything like that, because honestly it had no drama, because nobody honestly believed that Hideo Itami was going to win. He was just being fed to Bobby Roode, and that was it. It was kind of like NXT's equivalent of like those pay-per-view title matches where I've always said, so like, you know, you don't have to have the world title defended at every single pay-per-view, especially when you're doing one a month, because you create a bunch of these type of matches where there's no drama, because it's like, well, fuck it. I know he's not going to win, so why even have the match? And that goes for all the championships. You know, you don't have to have the women's title defended once a month. You don't have to have the tag titles defended once a month. But WWE so often feels like they have to do that, and they overexpose everything, and they create a bunch of title matches that quite honestly aren't that interesting. And that's kind of what we got here with this match, where it just wasn't that interesting because I knew Bobby was going to win. And Hideo has lost so much steam after being on the shelf for so long that I think it probably would have been better to kind of, you know, maybe hold off on having an NXT title. I mean, they had the tag team ladder match, which was a great main event. They probably could have had a contenders match at this show and then do the title match later, or maybe even at the next TakeOver later this summer. Just leave the NXT title off this particular TakeOver special, because there wasn't enough time to really build it up to make it worth anything. But the match itself wasn't bad. It was just kind of there. Basically, and like I said, the lack of drama had a lot to do with that, where nobody believed that Hideo was going to win. And, you know, I've seen Bobby Roode have, like, mix it up very well with Shinsuke Nakamura. He had a great match with Ty Dillinger in the opening match of one of the TakeOver specials, so I don't think it's a reflection of either guy's work. Hideo obviously has a great reputation. I just think it's just the match had no drama, because we all knew who was going to win. So, really all there is to say there. Then we got the main event. Tag team titles on the line. DIY versus the Authors of Pain. DIY finally getting a chance to face the Authors of Pain on their level, on their ground. And that's kind of the story that they told, where DIY, they're the experienced, like, athletic types that can make a ladder match work for them. And the Authors of Pain are the brutes that are going to struggle with the ladder match because they're carrying all that extra weight. It's going to be harder for them to climb up. And that's kind of the story that they told with this, which I liked. I thought it was a really good match overall, really solid ladder match. Not a straight-up spot-festy type of ladder match like we're used to seeing. They did try to, like, slow the pace down a little bit and let the story kind of breathe, and I appreciated that, and I thought it was a pretty solid ladder match overall, and a great way to close the show. You did get that one spot where Authors of Pain were going to ram a ladder into Tommaso Ciampa's face, and Gargano shoved him out of the way and took the ladder shot himself. And it didn't really play into the finish at all, and I was like, I wonder why they did that spot. You would think that would have been the finish or something. But it actually did have a payoff in the post-match where Gargano established himself as giving of his partner, and he cares about his partner. And then after they lose the title match, you get the emotional ending with DIY, just like, well, we lost, but the fans are cheering for him. It's like, oh, thanks for the effort. Then they get up on the stage, and that son of a bitch psycho killer, Tommaso Ciampa, beats the holy hell out of his friend Johnny Gargano, the guy that took a ladder shot for him. He took the wrestling equivalent of a bullet for you. You motherfucker, how dare you? And very well executed heel turn. I thought it was very well done. Kind of a surprise. I've been kind of not calling for it, but I've been kind of expecting a Tommaso Ciampa heel turn ever since Gargano beat him in the CWC last year, and I thought that's something that's probably going to play into a heel turn down the road. They didn't pull the trigger on it right away, which is a good thing. Let that stuff breathe, but they've kind of got like a whole built-in story now where like the seeds of Tommaso's turning on his partner has kind of been set a long time prior to this. So, and like I said, having that spot where Gargano took the shot for him makes this even worse. It's like, okay, he's hurt, and you're beating the shit out of him because you're a prick. Fuck you. And really well done. And I thought got Tommaso a lot of heat. I think it makes him a more interesting character. And I think it sets the stage for a very interesting grudge match at the next TakeOver special 3 months from now. So they've got plenty of time to continue the build-up for this and create a really strong, like, show-stealing type of match for the next TakeOver. So like I said, you got Asuka and Ember Moon to look forward to. You've got Tommaso and Gargano to look forward to. So that's 2 really strong matches for the next TakeOver down the road right there. So I would definitely hold off on both of those and do them at the next TakeOver in August and make that show even better. I don't know who you get to the title scene. My pick would have been Ty Dillinger, but they moved him up to the main roster where he's doing pre-show matches. So it's like, yeah, okay. We couldn't have Ty Dillinger as NXT champion? Oh, okay. Sure. Cool beans. But yeah, great ending to the TakeOver special. Overall, a show that kind of had lowered expectations going into it because the build-up just wasn't really there. But overall, strong main event, really good UK title match. The UK title match, like I said, stole the show. And overall, a solid show throughout, even with the lowered expectations. So overall, another really good TakeOver special. Surprise, surprise, I know. And yeah, that leads us to WWE Backlash the next night, also in Chicago. And the show was boring. I don't even know what to say about it. It's the biggest shock about this show is that they put the title on a guy that's been a jobber most of his career. And that wasn't even that shocking. I said that there was a 50-50 chance that Jinder was going to win the belt because WWE is a hard-on for doing this type of stuff. It's like, let's take a complete nobody and make him world champion just to shock people. And I'm not shitting on Jinder Mahal when I do this. I'm not shitting on the talent. This is the hand he was dealt. It's like, look, they made him look like garbage. He was doing jobs for Finn Balor like 2 months ago. And now all of a sudden I'm supposed to give a crap about him. And they're doing it, not only that, the whole like he was a jobber, now he's a world champion in like the blink of an eye. But there's also that added layer. It's like, what's his character? He's a dark-skinned foreigner that hates America. Oh no, I am so invested now. Shit. Are we ever going to leave the 1980s? I mean, Jesus Christ. And it's so like, a lot of that, what I just said, could be applied to Rusev as well. When Rusev actually mattered and they were pushing him before they fed him to the John Cena meat grinder, he was that same character. It's like, I hate America because I have an accent and I'm foreign. But at least Rusev was built up as this unbeatable brute. So at least we got something out of it. At least I was convinced that Rusev belonged in like that upper tier level, and then they fed him to Cena and ruined him because that's what they always do. But at least Rusev had some level of intrigue to him. Jinder doesn't even have that. Jinder's got nothing through no fault of his own. It's just the booking didn't help him out, and the character he's given right now doesn't help him out. Doesn't make him any more interesting. I think of another rushed push, Bob Backlund in 94. Yes, he was a former world champion, but he wasn't doing anything when he came back in 92, 93. He was just kind of there, filling up space. But then they did this heel turn, and I totally bought it, because the whole justification for the heel turn is that Bob Backlund was haunted by the loss to the Iron Sheik, because he feels like he didn't really lose because his manager threw in the towel. And so he just kind of snapped. And finally the pressure was too much for him, and he snapped and became this psychopathic character that was just like, I'm the true champion. I should be the champion because I never really lost that belt. I believe that heel turn, and Bob played it to perfection. That was interesting. I could get invested in that, even with the rushed build-up. I could say, all right, but at least the character's interesting, so I can get behind that. This is just like, okay, you've got the rush build-up, but the character's not even that interesting, because he's just the evil foreigner that I've seen 8 billion times, so what is there to latch onto here? There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing here. You convinced me that the guy was shit, and now you're doing this old, trite, stale, boring gimmick character with him. I don't care! I'm sorry! It's just, that's how it is. That's just the situation we're in right now. And, does this make me any more excited to watch SmackDown? No. Does it make me, think that SmackDown's a lesser show than Raw? No. It doesn't do anything. One more. They always come in threes. It's like Kurt Angle German suplexes. They always come in threes. But, excuse me there. But let's get over the show, because it was really kind of a dull-ass show. It's not even that it was a terrible show. It was just there. It happened. 3 hours of my life are gone now, watching a show that was not terrible, not remarkable, just there. It happened. That was the show. It was the thing that happened. It's stuff like this that makes me kind of nostalgic for 2000 WCW. That show was complete and utter bullshit. Let's get back to bullshit. Let's have, fucking just the worst show ever. So at least I can have material for my goddamn videos that's worth talking about, because there's only so many different ways I can say this show was boring. And, fuck it. I want Tommy Wiseau to write a wrestling show. That is the world that I want to live in. Just give me bullshit. I can work with bullshit. I can't work with boring. Boring just gives me nothing. Anyway, going over the show, you got Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler in the opening match. I was shocked that this opened. I thought for sure it would be, I thought there was a chance that they would let the main event, to be perfectly honest, just to treat Shinsuke like a big star. But no, they opened up the show. Match was... It was okay. I thought Ziggler got a little too much offense in. Maybe the match was a little too long. It was what it was. It was just there. Shinsuke won, which good. And I thought, his entrance and everything came off really well, and he looked like a star. But the match itself just kind of happened. It didn't make him look like a dominant force. It didn't... it wasn't a great back and forth match. It was just kind of a pretty standard match. And that's it. It happened. Okay. Then I believe the next match was the tag title match, Breezango challenging the Usos. Breezango's been doing their whole, Fashion Police Files bits, which everybody's been raving about and saying that they're really funny. I think they're okay. I don't think they're stupendously funny. There are a couple of funny lines in there, and it's nice to see Tyler Breeze doing something, because something is better than nothing. Although it really does speak to how bad WWE comedy is when this is considered grade A material, because it's I've seen funnier. I saw the Mountie getting carted to jail. That was funny. That's still one of my favorite comedy bits that WWE's ever done. But the match had some weird comedy to it, with Tyler Breeze playing the Master of Disguise. I don't know why. It doesn't make much sense for the character to be doing that during the match, but Tyler made it funny, so it was okay. The match wasn't a train wreck. It was okay. Although I did get pissed off at the commentary where they said Usos stole one. And I'm like, what did they steal? They won fair and square. What the hell? It's how'd they steal one? What the shit? It's if you're heels, the commentators will just throw you under the goddamn bus for no reason. It doesn't, I don't get it, but whatever. So that match was what it was. I got a couple chuckles out of me, and that's fine. Picked up a little bit at the end, but Not bad, not good, just there. Then we got, was it Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin? Again, match was probably better than one would have expected it to be, but it wasn't great. It was just kind of there. What was the build-up for this? I don't even know what the build-up was. I know there was a build-up, I just don't know what it was, so I'm just kind of like, whatever. I can't muster the energy. I was like, God, how many more matches do I have to review? It's like, the match was fine. It wasn't bad. It was fine, but Sammy got the win, so I don't know what this means for Sammy. Is he going to get pushed? Is he going to be put on the winning streak, or is Corbin going to win the rematch and they balance out 50-50? I have no idea. And I don't care enough to really wonder. What was after this? Was it the women's match? Was it the women's tag match? I feel like I'm missing a match, but anyway, I'm going to assume it was the women's tag match. The Welcoming Committee has got to be the most boring name for a stable I've ever seen in the history of wrestling. Makes me nostalgic for Pretty Mean Sisters. PMS, because Russo likes puns. That name is so boring, it makes me nostalgic for shit like that. I don't know what the fuck Becky Lynch did to her hair. Is she trying to, pay homage to Bull Nakano? Is she... I don't know, did she gozer herself? I don't know. Did Beaker and Eraserhead, give her grooming tips? What? I don't know. I don't know anymore. Becky, it upsets me that Becky fucked up her hair because Becky's kind of cute, and I don't know, the hair, takes away some of the cuteness away from her. It's no, come on, stay cute. Please don't fuck up your hair. But anyway, heels got the win. This felt like a typical TV match. Not really a whole lot to say other than that. I'm trying to think of what else was on this fucking show. I swear to God, I must be missing a match somewhere. But I'm just going to go ahead and talk about AJ and Kevin Owens for the U.S. title. Match of the night, easily. I thought it was really good. Some people didn't like the finish. I was fine with the finish because it gets heat on the heel. It used the injury as part of the story, and the count-out victory kind of lends itself to having rematches down the road. So that was all fine, and I thought the match was a nice, action-packed, athletic contest. It was the only exciting thing on this entire show. So mazel tov to both of you. AJ Styles, that guy's amazing. I love watching him. Kevin Owens, great at doing what he does. My only criticism on Owens has always been that he's, his look. He doesn't put enough into his look, but, he makes up for it with the other stuff that he does, so it's fine. I thought the match was by far the best thing on this show. So yeah, I think after this was, that random-ass Luke Harper, Erick Rowan match, and again, I'm not blaming both guys for this. There was little to no promotion. I didn't even know the match was happening until right before the show. And I was like, oh, okay. And especially it's a match between two former tag team partners. You would think that you'd put a little bit more effort into building that up. But no, this just kind of got thrown onto the card and nobody cared. And you got the two guys going out there trying to be cruiserweights to get the crowd to give a shit. And the crowd still didn't give a shit. So, yeah, it was... they tried, but overall it was bad. It was awful, and through no fault of their own, it was just booked horror. The build-up, there's no build-up, didn't have a reason to care, and because I didn't have a reason to care, nobody else cared, and it was just kind of a flat match. That's just what it was. And then we got the main event, Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton. I already talked about Jinder winning, so not really a whole lot else to say other than that. The match was not a disaster, but it wasn't... It was basically my opinion of Backlash as a whole. Not a disaster, but not that great either. I made the comment, if you want somebody to dig yourself out of a bad situation, and I'm going to make a comparison to Eddie and JBL from Judgment Day 2004. That match was a very similar match in terms of its build-up, where it's you taking this guy and you're randomly putting him in a main event for no fucking reason. And it's the fans' expectations were justifiably extremely low. Eddie Guerrero, being the dedicated worker that he was, decided to bring himself to the brink of death to make that match work. And he succeeded. That was actually one of my favorite matches that year. In a situation that it had no business being as good as it was. Eddie put forth 110% to make it work. This match had a similar thing going for it, where you have this challenger who's a virtual unknown, without a proper build-up, underdeveloped, so he's fighting from Underhill. And you've got Randy Orton, who's the established star, who's really got to be the one to kind of lead the dance here and make it work. And Orton just doesn't strike me as that guy to pull yourself out of a nosedive and pull yourself out of a bad situation, because really this match just kind of turned into a paint-by-numbers Randy Orton match. I mean, it was better than his matches with Bray, but that's setting the bar pretty low. It was a fairly paint-by-numbers main event with the underdeveloped, underbooked, boring character winning the title. It's like... like that's how your reaction. And like I said, I wasn't that shocked by it because I lived through JBL, I lived through Sheamus, I lived through Jack Swagger. WWE likes to do shit like this. Let's shock the people by taking a guy that we convinced them was bullshit and make him world champion. Look at the Money in the Bank winners. Like Daniel Bryan lost most of the time before his cash-ins. CM Punk lost most of the time before his cash-ins. They just love doing shit like that. I don't know why, but you know, Jinder Mahal 2 months ago, he was getting squashed basically by Finn Balor, and now he's WWE champion. All right, and let's look at some of the other, to kind of illustrate my point here. Let's talk about some of the other champions and some of the other companies. You've got John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, who was the Lucha Underground champion. From the very beginning, he was established as one of the top guys. Him winning the title when he did almost felt long overdue. So he belonged in that spot. And Lucha Underground promoted him in a way that made us feel like he belonged in that spot. You've got Christopher Daniels, who's the Ring of Honor champion right now. He won a tournament which moved him up the rankings and beating top contenders to get to that number one contender spot. And they also added in the emotional backstory that Daniels, he's a little long in the tooth. He's been around a while. He's never won the big one. This might be his last opportunity. So that little extra, emotional nugget to throw in there made Daniels win a lot more satisfying. So it's like, okay, they earned that. They earned him winning the title under those circumstances. Fuck it. Look, I don't know what just happened there. Okay, never mind. It's a computer issue. You look at New Japan, Kazuchika Okada. That dude's been presented as the ace. He is a fucking megastar for them, having amazing matches after amazing match. He is one of the best workers in the world, and New Japan has promoted him accordingly. They didn't just decide one day that Okada was going to be world champion and said, there you go, he's champ now. It's like, what? No, they took a long time to get him to that point. Look at Naito. Look at some of the other guys that they built up to that point. It took Shibata, who unfortunately may not be in that spot anymore, but it took a long time for some of those guys just to get to a main event spot. And, that's not what they did with Jinder. Then you look at I'll throw Impact Wrestling a bone. Fucking Lashley. At least they build him as this guy that beats people and wins all the time, so at least it's believable that he would be the champion. It's not like they took some rando off the street and just said, hey, here you go, here's your belt, you're the guy now, make magic happen, which is kind of what they're asking Jinder to do. They're asking him to make magic happen when, I don't know how anybody would make this work. I kind of feel bad for him in a way, because he's got to go out there and try and make this shit work when they did him absolutely no favors. They literally took him from loser, jobber, to main event. Okay. This is the guy that was getting beat up by Rob Gronkowski in the pre-show of WrestleMania, and now he's the WWE champion less than 2 months later. Fucking hell, now I look back on it, fucking hell, why didn't he just win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? At least it would have been a starting point. But, whatever. If you knew you were going to do this, why didn't you start... I wonder when they decided to put the belt on him, or when they decided to give him this push, because it's because if they had decided in December or January that they were going to do this, I'm why didn't you build him up all the way through? I don't know when they made this decision, but whatever. What the fuck ever. It is what it is. And honestly, whether Jinder won the title or not, I would have still thought Backlash was kind of a dull show. It's just, I don't know. I can't muster the energy to get excited about whatever WWE's doing. I can't force myself to like it or be excited by it. Again, I'm just biding my time until New Japan's big shows happen and Lucha comes back and the next TakeOver special. Those are kind of the things I'm looking forward to now at this point, because right now it's man, fucking Impact Wrestling got me to mark out for Joseph Park last week. That's where we are right now. It's WWE bores me to fucking tears. Impact Wrestling, oh, you brought Joseph Park back? You brought that character back? Okay, cool. That's more exciting than what I'm watching on Mondays and Tuesdays right now. Anyway, I've rambled enough. So those are my 2 show reviews. I'm back making videos. I'm going to try and find something to talk about as far as videos go. But fortunately, we're getting close to the end of the month. I'll have a classic match review to do, and I'll have my next Star Wars review to do. So I'll have a couple things lined up. Hopefully I can come up with something else about the current state of wrestling to talk about. Maybe I'll do something for Lucha's return on May 31st. I'll think of something, because I'm legitimately excited for that. But that is all I have for you now. Please enjoy the rest of your week. But until next time, later, everybody.